Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Echuca, Australia. We currently conduct these streams on Monday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Rita Alp, who has homeschooled 5 of her children and done a wonderful job, and they're all off at university and working now, and in fact one of them's married and has a child, and she's a grandmother too. Welcome back again this week to the program.
Thank you, Mirella.
When we were talking at the end of last week's program, we were talking about what they've achieved. Would you like to tell us where are the children at now?
Okay.
And their ages?
Yeah. Well, my son is 30,
yeah,
and he's achieved like a certificate 4 in multimedia, Bachelor of Education, and a certificate 4 in OH&S. And Stephanie, she was a very high achieving student, so she was rewarded by getting into the program MELfeed and to Melbourne University in year 12. And she chose the subject history, and that added certain credits towards her later on in university. Mm-hmm. And she also got a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. She kept on studying and graduated and got a certificate in Human Resources. And also recently she got a Diploma of Education. And Nicola, she is achieved a Bachelor of Business in Human Resources. Veronica, she got a Diploma in Business Administration and a Diploma in Business Management. And I've got Claudia, who is currently in studying second year Bachelor of Arts in Journalism, but she's also achieved so far a certificate 3 in Business, a Diploma of Broadcast Journalism, Screen and Media. And I think that is it.
Wow,
yes.
So that's wonderful, isn't it?
And my grandson had his little say, you know.
And he's got one child, has he, your son?
He's got 2.
He's got 2 children?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I said 1. So he's got 2 children. How old are his children?
He's, the eldest is 3,
yeah,
and the second one will be 2 in June.
Oh, wow, so they're quite close as well.
Yeah.
And they even asked you to do a bit of homeschooling with their 3-year-old, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm just taking Gabriel 2 days a week and introduce him to a little bit of school.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah, very active child.
Well, they've all done very well, and you've homeschooled all of them, or some of them, all the way through to year 12, and some went to do year 11 and year 12. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, it's a bit, as you might understand, it's a bit difficult when you're homeschooling and you don't have support. So then you ask yourself, now how are the children going to have this transition, smooth transition if you like, to university? Well, we found sort of 2 pathways. I don't know if there are any more, but our pathways were, the first one, my son, he finished year 12 at home.
Yeah.
And so we collected all his portfolio and his exams and tests and whatever, and we took them with us. Mm-hmm. And we explained that, you know, my son finished school at home, and then they advised him that he could do a certificate 4 in whichever thing he chooses. So I think my son at that time chose multimedia. Mm-hmm. But then when he got the certificate, they told him maybe you need to have like a second thing to fall back on, because multimedia, you know, it might not be, you know, into it. So then he took on the Bachelor of Education. He went on to study for Bachelor of Education, and he was successful in that. And then with my 2 girls, the next two girls, my husband thought maybe I'll make inquiries and see then if we can go in another way. And they told him that if they are homeschooled till year 10, they can do year 11 and 12 in Vic Uni, and in TAFE, isn't it? You call it TAFE. And then they kind of have that smooth transition into university. And I think we tried that for the girls. I'm not quite sure whether they liked it or not, but we had a good outcome for them as well. Veronica and Claudia, they decided to stay at home and finish all their up to year 12 at home. And Veronica also went to then Vic Uni to get her diploma of business administration.
So 3 of them did it all the way to year 12 at home.
Yes.
And then 2 just left at year 11 and 12 and did that at Vic Uni.
And that's not because they didn't want to finish at home or anything. It's just my husband thought maybe we will try another avenue.
Just to see if there's any difference.
If it's easier for
to transition into
transition
uni. And was it, or you don't know?
I don't know. I know Nicola says if she had her choice, she would have done everything at home.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah. And
and some people might be watching and say they want to do it, but they might be saying, yeah, but I'm not as disciplined as Rita, or I'm not as intelligent, or I'm not. They might just say you're a certain person and it takes a certain person to do it, but they're still interested in, but they don't have the confidence or the know-how. What would you suggest to them?
Look, I say don't lose hope, because I never thought that I will be going through the years teaching my children. That was not on the books at all. In fact, I never wanted to be a teacher. I won't go there, you know. Little did I know, out of necessity, I had to do it. So I had to get myself into a situation where I had to plan and see what I can do, what is best for the children. Out of the love of my children, I just wanted to do it. Whichever way I was going to do it, I didn't know. It's only that I tried to think, well, you have to have a timetable to do school. I had a timetable at school, so I did a timetable for the children. And so you start in little steps, and basically, if you really want to do it but you think you're not up to it, which I don't believe that, I think every mother would be up to teaching her children, because every mother loves her children, I think.
Mary was probably a homeschooler for Jesus.
Well, she was. Yeah. She was. But he was a good boy.
He wasn't naughty. We have to go to a break now. Okay. You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
One in 5 of us are affected.
10% of us will have at least one.
And the numbers double for Indigenous Australians.
Just as quick as a click of your fingers, it can happen to anyone at any time.
What would you do if someone close to you was having a seizure?
Imagine if it was your child.
My brother has it. My sister has it.
I have it.
I have it too.
You're not alone.
You're not different.
And you have a bright future ahead of you.
So click for kids.
I'm Amy Lee, and I'm part of it.
I got my big break about 5 years ago.
My big break came 10 years ago.
I got my break about 8 years ago.
If you're over 50 and have recently had a bone fracture from a minor bump or fall, you may have osteoporosis.
If you've had one break from osteoporosis, there's a good chance you'll have another.
Find out more, talk to your doctor, or call Osteoporosis Australia today.
Don't wait for your next big break.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Rita Alp, who was Catholic homeschooling her children, and now they've all gone on to university and working, and we're talking about how she went through the ins and outs of all of that. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Mirella.
And because there was a point you were telling me off camera where you've decided to homeschool your children, and then your husband lost his job after the first year of homeschooling, so you had a few obstacles, and then he even moved to work 5 days a week in the country because he wasn't getting work where you were. How did you go through that? What was it? What gave you the strength to persevere through that and the other problems you had as well?
Yes, yeah. Well, you know, you have to keep going, and when you're thinking of the children, you obviously forget about yourself. So my aim was think of these children, do what's best for them, and keep going day by day. I wouldn't think of what I'm going to do tomorrow. I just go through today, because I think I would have panicked if I would, be thinking I'd be too overwhelmed. Yeah. Homeschooling is a bit overwhelming because everything, it's like a mother going to work. Instead of going out of the home, you're working like for those kind of 8 hours with the children, and then with the break, lunchtime and afternoon tea. So it's quite full on. And when children ask you questions about their whatever subject they're doing, you have to be there and all that. So it was a matter of, I had nobody to turn to, so I only turned to God for help. And I said, well, if you really want me to do it, please, give me the strength to carry on, because he knows the situation anyway. He knew that my husband wasn't there. I had to walk if I had to go and pay the bills after school. We've taken all the children.
You didn't have a car?
No, because we had only one car. So my husband needed it to go to the country, and he worked 2.5 hours away from where we lived. So he only came on a Friday night, and then he goes back on either a Sunday night or then Monday early morning.
And how long did that go on for?
Well, I think about for maybe 6 months the most, because in the end we thought we'd sell the house and we probably move in the country, so that But in 2 years we did 5 moves.
Wow!
So try and
picking up the pieces 5 times, getting them, teaching them all over again,
and packing everything. I was doing the packing on my own. Allocating the subjects for my children. You carry on here, I have to pack. I had people coming to view the house. I was selling it on my own because my husband was on. So don't give up. I did one thing after that. What came next? You do what
Try
comes
and live
next.
the present moment.
Yeah. So if the present moment is somebody phoned to say they want to view the house, I just think of that. The children are not interrupted. They continue. I'm the one who moves away from them a bit to and I couldn't think, because then if I were to think, I might have got some panic attacks.
Yeah.
And where do I go from there? I was responsible for the children. So I thought I'd do one thing after another, see where it gets us today. That's it. Don't think of tomorrow. Yeah, and then when eventually we sold the house, then of course we had the big move. And that was, you know, not very smooth either, because, you know, you have to go and see the place.
So there was a lot of obstacles you had to overcome, but through it all the children and you and your husband's support persevered through it all, and you've got the end results. You know, no matter what happened, and you got sick as well too.
Yeah, I got very sick, but even during my sickness, the children knew what to do because they followed the lessons. You know, there's no confusion. For me, because I organized it that way, there was no confusion in homeschooling. We don't skip lessons, whether you know it or not. If you know it, it's revision. So be it a bit of an easy time for you, you know, take it on board. You know, that's it. So they knew which lesson to go on to, the next lesson. And what was a bit overwhelming for me after I sort of recovered was the amount of correcting and marking, and you know, then it piles up, lessons after lesson, which I got through that. I don't know how, but I got through that. And then every 6 months we were moving for 2 years. And you know, God is good.
And so you felt like you got all your strength from God through this as well?
Yeah, I was very weak. I wouldn't have been able to continue. In fact, I thought I was going to die. But I pulled through, and who pulled me through? Not me.
Gee, that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, so I tell mums, don't lose hope. You'll have obstacles thrown at you. Bang, bang, bang. But don't give up.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because people have obstacles no matter what path they take in life. Yes. But like you said, you had your faith in God to pull you through. If everyone had that faith, or they believed in God's love for them, they felt God's love for them, they would pull through whatever difficulties they're going through.
And, you know, it's just relying on Him, because He basically knows the big picture. I didn't know the big picture.
Yeah.
And all I was interested in to see these children get their education and show them that they were not sort of, you know, dumb. You know, it's just
clearly they weren't dumb. Look what they went on to achieve.
Because at school they weren't achieving anything.
Yeah,
that was my fear, that they have nothing to present at the end of this school years, and that frightened me. So I wanted them, you know, for their own sake.
And then when they went to university, or even ones that went to do year 11 and 12, the two girls, they've already done it all when they went there, didn't they?
So they were helping other children.
Oh, wow.
And they did the same thing in university. They helped other children in university, and now my current daughter, she had students with her where they didn't know what punctuation was and how and where to put a full stop. I mean,
in university.
Would I want my children to be? I kind of had an insight that if I left my children in the school system, because they were not picking up for some reason, they couldn't pick up.
We have to go to a break.
Okay.
You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
I'm able to dream, I'm able to smile, I'm able to grow, and I'll go the extra mile, one day at a time. So put your hands together, we can change lives forever. Together, we're able.
Able Australia. Together, we're able.
If a man's home is his castle, his shed is his kingdom. It's a place men can hang out with a few mates, build a few things, even if you haven't before, and give back to the community. No man should be without a shed. The Australian Men's Shed Association is working to provide a shed for all Australian men, and they have over 400 already. Visit your local shed, build your community, and make a difference. Find a shed near you. It's time to give back.
For over 80 years, the Royal Flying Doctor Service has been providing a mantle of safety across our vast land. Last year alone, they attended to more than 250,000 patients and flew over 23 million kilometres. That's the equivalent of flying to the moon and back every fortnight. Whether it's an emergency rescue, delivery of urgent medical supplies, or an air ambulance transfer to a major city hospital, the Flying Doctor is always out there for everyone. Let's keep it that way. Donations to the Royal Flying Doctor Service can be made online, by cheque or by calling the number on your screen now. All donations over $2 are tax deductible. So please give generously and help keep the doctor flying.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest, if you've just joined us, is Rita Alp, and she's talking about the way she's homeschooled her children, 5 of them, and they've all gone on to university. One got married, has 2 children, and they're working and studying. Welcome back to the program, Rita. Now this is a final, part of the program, but we'd like to talk about, often people, the first thing they say if you say you're homeschooling is social skills. What about social skills? How do you react to people that say that?
Well, I didn't know how to react, to be honest, at first, because it was a shock to me that they were asking me that. I mean, they made me feel as if I was just a closed-up person and I'm in a cage with my children, which is nothing like that. It's just a normal life. If they are at school, they go for 8 hours in a classroom and then they go playground. And well, my children do the same. They are doing their work, recess, lunchtime, afternoon break, and then in the evening, if we need to go to the park, we go to the park if we have time. If we haven't got time to go to the park, we're doing something else. In the weekends, they play sports and, anything that we want to do. If we're inviting friends over, they have children, they socialize. You name it, we were everywhere. We went everywhere, holidays, and my children never had a problem talking to anyone. If there are little children, they go and play with little children. If grown-ups speak to them, they speak to grown-ups.
I've often heard that a lot of the homeschool, and met them as well, a lot of the homeschool children, and know as well from my own experience, they can talk to all ages quite confidently. Yes. And I think it's because they have the love of their mum full-time teaching them that they grow up confidently.
Yes, and they love to be at their service, the service of others. And I had many times, even elderly people, and they come to me and say, what beautiful children you have. They can, keep a conversation going, and they know what to talk about, and
the manners.
And even when they answer the phone, wow, they answer the phone very politely and all that. Yeah. So it's all showing up, they say you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow, yeah? And that's what it is, really. If you give children good stuff, they will, give it back to everybody around them. But that socialization business, it's just so not true.
Yeah, I think it's because maybe a lot of people, especially older people, maybe aren't familiar with the whole homeschooling concept. They're just sort of grabbing at straws and saying, well, what about this, what about that?
Yes.
They're not really educated in it yet, and they don't know people that are doing it. But once they get to know you and they know people that are doing it, they'll see, that your children are very well adjusted, very socially adequate.
Yes.
In fact, more so than a lot of children.
Yes, and I find it's a bit prejudice about it. It's the first thing they told me when people asked me, so which school, do you send your children to? And I said, well, I don't send them to school at their homes. What about socialization? No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. But they make you feel guilty.
Yeah.
Whereas there is no guilt, because homeschoolers go camping. We have sports days. When I used to have when I was doing it, we had the sports day every fortnight. or every week, I can't remember now, but every fortnight or every week, and then every month we have an RE day. We go to the country, and so
because there are social homeschool groups, so that you actually meet and mix with other children, and parents mix with other parents that are homeschooling.
Yes, and so what about if you meet other people and make friends with other people? That's socializing. So to me, they take me by surprise when they say that, truly, because they don't allow you also to be, if you want to be a reserved person, and then you choose your own friends. You know what I mean? You have that opportunity when you're at home. Well, you choose your own friends. You choose whom you want to be with.
And some of the children I've come across that are homeschooled in the Catholic homeschool system, their manners are just impeccable. And they can talk to adults. They smile, even teenage boys. Like, they're not on the iPad or on the phone. They're actually talking and socialising and polite and friendly. They're a joy to be around.
And, you know, good morning, Mrs. Alp, or, you know, and it is so beautiful to see that young fellas have got that respect for the older generation. Or I think it would be sad if we lose that generation, don't we?
Yes. And also on a practical level, how did you keep the house in order? Like, because you were also, you know, paying the bills, having to do the shopping, housework, and teaching 5 children. How did you manage to keep some structure going?
Well, we had to plan the day a bit, and I did that before we started homeschooling altogether, so that, you know, we all know what we're going in for. So before we started the school, of course we have breakfast, and then everybody goes brushing their teeth as if they are going to school. They're all neatly and clean, you know, dressed up and everything. Then everyone goes to their bedroom. They make their beds. I taught them how to make their beds and tidy up their room. And so then I am doing the kitchen, cleaning up the kitchen, breakfast stuff and all that. And that's a start. So the house is clean. We're in a clean environment, and everybody's have peace of mind. We can all go to do our little jobs now. You know, their job is their school. My job is between their school, and maybe if I can do something, throw in a wash in the washing machine, or put a washing on the line, or something like that, or fold some clothes, I'm around in case they need my help. And then after school, we have like an afternoon break, afternoon tea we called it, and then after that I say everybody in the kitchen, and we start cooking the evening meal. So if I'm dealing with the meat, and the children, one is peeling potatoes, one is peeling carrots, or other vegetables.
So everybody helps together to make the dinner.
When that is done, and I put everything all together, they can go out and play in the garden. Or
so you had a good system, and you had to be quite regimented with the system.
Well,
to keep
I had
it
to,
work.
because nobody suffered that way. It was easy for everybody. The children had their relaxing time. I didn't have to, you know, really fuss too much about dinner is about to be ready, and we can all sit down and you know, and
enjoy the benefits.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the
You're
program.
welcome.
We've come to an end now.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You've been watching NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich, and today our guest was Rita Alp. I hope you enjoyed the program. See you again soon.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Angela Seeger, who's currently completing her Doctorate of Health Psychology at Deakin University. And today's topic we're going to be talking about is goal setting, reaching our goals. Welcome to the program, Angela.
Thank you for having me.
Can you give our viewers a little bit of your background, what sort of things you've achieved and done so far?
Yeah, so a doctorate in health psychology works a lot around health behaviour change. So we do a lot of training around helping people achieve their goals. And currently I'm at a placement at Independence Australia, which works with people with physical disabilities.
And you've also run some workshops too, haven't you?
Yeah, as a part of that placement, I've helped co-facilitate a pain management workshop, which includes a lot of behaviour change strategies. And also I've helped co-develop a health and wellbeing workshop series for people with living with a disability.
Wow, okay. Now let's say for goal setting, we'll give a scenario, an interesting scenario, something a little bit difficult. Someone wants to become really healthy in their diet and they're surrounded by people who are eating pretty much unhealthy food, and they're constantly bombarded by TV and media with unhealthy advertising for food that's all cooked and processed.
Yes.
They want to go on a raw diet, a fresh healthy fruit diet with lots of abundance of seeded plant food, and they only know a few people doing it. Not many people are that strict. How could you help someone in a scenario like that to overcome their obstacles and reach their goals?
Yeah, and changing, having a really big outcome goal like that is quite common. So we call goals like that where you have a desired, state of being or desired behaviour an outcome goal. So this is where we think that we want to be living in a certain way or be a certain weight, for example. Unfortunately, they're very difficult to obtain without breaking them down a little bit further. So it's sort of like attempting to build a house without actually having the know-how of how to go about that and achieve that. So in the example that you've given, we would try and break that outcome goal down into a series of process goals. So process goals are actual goals that are daily behaviours. So for example, rather than saying I would like to sort of have a whole vegan diet, for example, what's one thing that you would want to change specifically? And we'd try to adapt your overall behaviour and break it down into changing small habits one at a time.
So say the person wants to be eating only raw, fresh fruit, seeded plant food, like savoury, like fruit, tomatoes. Tomatoes are fruit and avocados are fruit, plums, watermelon, everything. That's all they want to eat. And they know people who are doing it and they're thriving in their health and energy levels. And they want to do it one all at once. Is that advisable? Can they do it just at once and turn over and say, that's it, tonight I'm starting and I'm going to be a fruitarian tomorrow? Can they do that?
Look, it would be very challenging to do that all at once. It takes a lot of willpower, and willpower is something that, it's not an infinite resource. We have a sort of allocated amount of willpower, and resisting urges or changing habits takes a lot of willpower. So it might be more advisable to break it down and change one element at a time. So for example, removing one part of your diet that you don't want in there and then introducing some part that you do want in there. So for example, maybe at breakfast time, if you're eating toast and you'd prefer to change that to fruit, maybe you could develop a process goal where you would be attempting to only eat fruit for breakfast, perhaps Monday to Thursday, for example.
And then you change it. After you've achieved that, then you could change it. Okay, I'll increase it to lunchtime.
Yeah, so once you've developed a habit, so the habit forming is the most tricky part of changing your behaviour. So developing a habit requires a lot of concerted effort. So if you have maintained eating fruit from Monday to Thursday, for example, for a month, then you might be able to sit down and reflect and say, okay, so I've achieved that process goal. Now what's the next stage of my behaviour change in order to become a fruitarian, for example? And then you might introduce doing it Monday to Sunday, for example, or maybe you'll introduce it at lunchtime as well. And so what this is doing is, rather than depleting all of your willpower, which you have a certain amount every day, you'll be able to just use your willpower and actually achieve your goal.
Okay. And some people will say they did do it overnight. They said they got a book, they read about it, and they met someone or they spoke to someone and they thought, that's it, I'm doing it overnight, and they've done it overnight.
Yeah.
With those, how would they differ from someone who's done it slowly?
Well, I guess some people do have some sort of life-changing event or piece of information that they take on. And so there are theories that explain how people can completely overhaul their behaviour overnight. And it's got to do with the perception of your health and how you perceive your health and how adequately you'll be able to change your behaviour overnight and the outcomes that you'll be able to achieve from that. So in the case of overhauling your behaviour overnight, maybe there was some piece of information that you obtained that was so sort
Powerful,
of earth-shattering on a very fundamental level that you're able to overhaul your whole behaviour overnight. But for most people, that doesn't happen, and having the conception that you will be able to completely change yourself and change all of your behaviours in one attempt, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people fail their health behaviour change goals.
That's interesting, because I remember I went to this health farm years ago, and I'd read about it, and I read about all raw vegan and everything, and then I went to the health farm, and I remember speaking to the person that ran the farm, and I said, no problem, I'll be doing this forever. There's no way. And he goes, you'll probably have to come back once a year. And I'm thinking, maybe he's just wanting the money. He wants to keep, And then he goes, because it's really hard. And I thought, no, it's not hard. It's not hard. And I went off, and I really had done it, I think, for a year on my own. And then after a year, I thought, no, it is getting a bit hard. Yes. So I'd sort of go there once a year in the end anyway, just to sort of be around those people and get that sort of, input back in.
Yeah, so what happens in situations when we're in environments where a lot of people aren't conforming to the behaviour that you would like, then you're needing to resist urges that are in your environment all of the time. So for example, if you're constantly seeing, poor food choices on the television, etc., then you're more likely to have to resist those urges on a regular basis. And these things all deplete our willpower. Every time we need to resist an urge, we deplete our willpower. So it takes a long time for these habits to become fully formed, and it's only when a habit is fully formed that it no longer uses up our willpower.
That's interesting, because I spoke with someone. I was interviewing some other people around, not all on Channel 31, but just interviewing them anyway for camera. We were going to put on Channel 31 some of the shows, and one man, he had bowel cancer, and he said he's 100% raw vegan, and he really wants to do it 100%, and he's going out helping other people with cancer. And then he said to me, if he ever gave into it, it would be because of all the constant advertising all around him that would have made him go back to eating cooked food.
Right.
And in the end he did go back to eating cooked food,
Right.
And anyway, we'll have to go to a break now.
Okay.
You're watching NAT Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back very shortly.
To every child's development, an important message from the Australian Toy Association.
You're there when they can't sleep. You're there when they forget. But who's there when they're at school? Asthma can be serious. It affects 1 in 10 Australians and claims 400 lives each year. Does anyone at your school know what to do in an asthma emergency? Log on to asthmafriendlyschools.org.au and find out if your school is asthma friendly. Shouldn't every school be asthma friendly?
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage. Because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Angela Seeger, who is doing her Doctorate of Health Psychology at Deakin University. Welcome to the program, Angela. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And before we're talking about these goal setting, I'm going to give you a scenario. Say, for example, I'll be the guinea pig here. I want to be a fruitarian. I want to do it overnight. How would you treat me? What advice, or how will we go about setting these goals?
Okay, well, first of all, we'd probably try and make your goal a little bit more realistic in terms of the time-bound element. So when we change our outcome goals, which is I want to be a fruitarian, to process goals, which is the stages you actually need to, like what the steps you need to do to get to that outcome goal, we need to make them realistic. And so one of the first steps that we would do would be to break it down into which element you can change in your diet first, and we would choose a time that we would evaluate whether you had achieved that. So the 5 criteria for making one of the better process goals would be to make them specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic and time-based. So that's a SMART goal. And so if you make a process goal that meets all of these 5 criteria, then you're on your way to achieving a successful behaviour change. So with the fruitarian example, we'd try and make it specific. So the specific might be which particular fruits that you wanted to eat for breakfast. Measurable, how much fruit would you eat for breakfast? Would it be 1 cup? Action oriented, so obviously it's the eating that's the action. Is it realistic? Do you think that you'll be able to eat fruit every day for breakfast? And then time bound, so we've got the 1 month element that we're going to reflect on this goal and see whether you've achieved it. Okay,
so we try it for a month, and that's just eating fruit for breakfast for the month.
Yes.
And then the next month after you evaluate, you can bring it to lunch.
So you sit down after a month and you see whether you have actually successfully achieved that behaviour change. So after a month, you most likely have formed a new habit. So you get to 1 month and 1 day, you'll wake up and you'll just want your fruit for breakfast. You won't revert back to what you were eating before.
So in that way, it takes like 30 days to perhaps develop a new habit, would you say?
It depends. It changes depending on the person and the behaviour. You most likely have a very well established, fully formed habit after 6 weeks, but then other habits can be formed earlier than that as well.
Oh, okay. So 6 weeks is a general rule to learn a new habit, would you say?
It's one of the more widely used timeframes, yes.
Okay, so try something for 6 weeks, and then it can become a habit after 6 weeks.
Yes.
Because they used to say 3 weeks, didn't they?
Oh, that's another theory, yes. So it varies.
Well, this is
from a couple of weeks
more
to 6 months.
up-to-date information though that you might have.
Possibly it might just, it might differ between different health professionals as well.
It's interesting because I know someone who is a fruitarian, and she's been a fruitarian for 30 years.
Okay.
And from my knowledge and what she's told me, she changed overnight. She became a fruitarian, that was it. And there was no sort of lead up, and there was no slow build up. It was just like a definite thing. I'm going to be a fruitarian because I just love fruit.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So some of the things that might have impacted on her being able to change that overnight may have been a values-based action. So she might have been confronted with some information that was contradictory to her values as a person regarding how she was currently behaving. Another thing that might have come into it would have been how she actually exercised her willpower. So she may have had, she may have removed all of the other previous foods that she was eating out of her environment, and therefore she wouldn't be tempted to eat those anymore. So she may have used all of her willpower to remove all of those other foods from her environment, just brought in foods that were in accordance with that chosen diet, and then she could just follow through with that chosen behaviour from that point.
Okay, it's interesting. Some have like a resolute mindset,
Yes.
nothing will back them down. They'll be so driven and so focused, whereas other people will need a slow more lead up into it.
Yeah, and I think that a few different things that might come into that would be the amount of temptations that people need to resist on a daily basis. So, for example, if someone wished to improve their healthy eating, for example, they may be tempted to eat unhealthy foods at regular points through the day. So maybe at work there are, unhealthy foods available to them. They've got to resist that temptation. Then again at lunch, then again at afternoon tea. And the more that they need to resist those temptations, the more their willpower will deplete. By the end of the day, they are so depleted of willpower that they actually just revert to their old habit, and they don't have the willpower left to actually engage in their chosen health behaviour.
Wow, so if they're exercising it so much throughout the day, then there's more likelihood that they'll give up. Whereas if they've cut out all the temptations, made it easier for themselves, they're on a smoother ride.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
So people have an amount of willpower, and it's how you actually use it that will determine how successful you are in your chosen behaviour.
And how much willpower do we each have a day? How much doses of willpower does everyone have?
It can vary,
Sounds like
and it can be depleted by other things as well. So willpower is also depleted by decision making. So if you're in a high stress job and you have to make a lot of decisions all morning, you may find that you don't have the willpower left at lunchtime to make positive choices.
Isn't that interesting? And it can be nothing to do with what your goal is.
No, yes,
if you've
that's
just
right.
burnt yourself out with other things, by the time the goal's out the window because you're just burnt out through all the other things in your life.
That's right, and we often make positive choices in the morning as opposed to in the afternoon. By the afternoon, we've had to make so many different decisions and resist so many temptations that we don't have any willpower left to make good decisions. So people who make the decision to exercise or eat well in the morning and actually prepare themselves for that, they may take their gym clothes to work, and they may prepare their lunches in advance, for example, they're more likely to follow through with that behaviour because the decision's already been made and they don't need to make it at the time.
All right, we'll have to continue with that. You're watching NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich, and we'll be back with more very shortly.
If you choose to text while driving,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's, your family's, or your own.
Choose not to instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
There's a difference between forgetting something once and forgetting it many times. There's a difference between forgetfulness and dementia. Talk to someone who understands. Call the National Dementia Helpline on 1800 100 500.
I was in my 40s when I was first diagnosed with bowel cancer. George, my son, was 6 years old at that time. These days, like people of his age, he's very busy, but he still needs to find the time to get to know his bowel cancer risk. Is that right, George?
Yes, Dad. Bowel cancer affects 1 in 12 Australians, young and old, and is our second biggest cancer killer. But if caught early, bowel cancer is treatable and beatable. My dad is living proof of that. So get to know your bowel cancer risk. Talk to your pharmacist or GP about screening. Protect yourself and the ones you love. Go to lovemyfamily.org.au.
Behind every great athlete, there is a great support network. Australian Athletes with a Disability and Wheelchair Sports Australia help athletes realise their full potential.
Gonna go from 3, yes!
No matter their ability, we're there to support them. Sporting opportunities for all abilities. For more information, visit sports.org.au.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Angela Seeger, who is currently completing her health doctorate in psychology at Deakin University. Welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Now, before we went to the break, we were talking about making the decisions for your goal setting early in the or first thing in the morning.
Yes,
let's elaborate on that.
Yeah, so as we were talking about willpower before, so willpower it depletes throughout the day. So if you have decisions to make about your health and about the behaviours you would like to do during the day, it's best to make them in the morning, because once you've made the decision, all then you need to do is follow through with the behaviour. So the willpower that you exercise throughout the day is going to deplete, and if you need to make those decisions in the evening, you're more likely to just revert to your old habits and less likely to make a change.
Okay, so have the structure and the day set in the morning, and then throughout our day, everyone knows there's ups and downs and things, unexpected things can happen and sometimes do happen during the day that may grate on us a little bit and make us weaken our willpower. Why does this happen, and what can we do to get around it?
Yeah, so willpower can be depleted by a range of different things. So it can be from making decisions and also resisting urges. So resisting urges to perhaps eat something unhealthy, for example, but also making decisions. So making decisions around your job. So if you are making decisions at work all day and then you need to make a decision regarding your health, if you've depleted your willpower, you're less likely to follow through with the changed behaviour. You're more likely to revert to the status quo.
And how do you stop your willpower from being depleted?
So you stop your willpower being depleted by not using it, and the way you don't need to use it is by forming habits. So what you do every day at the moment, you don't need to use willpower to do that. It's what you do every day, and so all you're doing is following through with your normal behaviour. So once you have established a new behaviour and a new habit, then you don't need to use your willpower anymore.
Okay, so it's just like repeating the new behaviour over and over and over again until that new behaviour just becomes normal habit.
That's right, and so we use the SMART goal criteria of being specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic and time-paced. And then if we meet those criteria with our process goals, then we can establish a new habit, and we evaluate it at the end of the time that we set, so perhaps a month, perhaps 6 weeks, and we reflect on whether we've established our habit or not, or whether we need to amend it and make it more appropriate.
Okay. It's interesting because there are some people who say they did achieve a goal, like say for example being a fruitarian, overnight. They did it overnight and that was it. And then other people, it takes a lot longer to achieve that goal. Why is it so easy for someone to do it overnight and do it for 30 years and someone else struggle for like 20 years or 18 years to try and do it?
Yeah, look, it's a tricky one. The person who might manage the change overnight may have exercised all of their willpower to remove any other temptation in their environment, and then just included all of the fruitarian correct, I guess, foods in their environment, and then they don't need to resist urges all day. Whereas other people who are needing to resist the urges of not eating a fruitarian diet every day are more likely to regress and go back to their old habits. So it's about exercising our willpower in the appropriate way, so that all we need to do is follow through with our chosen decision, and we don't need to resist urges of reverting back to old behaviours.
It's interesting because I actually asked someone that's been running a health farm, a raw health farm, and he was saying to me, I said, well, you're lucky because you're living out in the mountains and you're just growing fruit, so it's so easy to do it there. He goes, no, I have to go into the town every day because he was running a chiropractic clinic, and all of that stuff's right in front of me across the road from my work, and it's everywhere around me, but I don't still give in to it.
Okay, so perhaps he'd already established a habit where he never actually went and, it gave into those temptations. So it's about what we commonly do. What we are is what we commonly do, and if you never give in to the habit, if you never give it into temptation, then you're never resisting it in the first place. It's changing the habit that's the most difficult part. It's not following through with the habit once it's formed.
Okay, so changing the habit's the hardest part.
That's right.
But yet some people can do it so easily. Why is that, do you think?
Well, some people might change very significantly overnight if they're confronted with a significant piece of information that makes them realise that they're not living by their values. So some people perhaps if people who are eating meat, for example, and see something quite traumatic about the treatment of animals who, they may actually become a vegan or vegetarian overnight because they realise that the current behaviour is not in line with their values. So that sort of very significant information can help someone change overnight. However, for most of us, it's a process of incrementally changing small behaviours, achieving those behaviour change goals, and then adapting them upon evaluation.
Okay. And in your own experience, have you used these kind of goal-setting techniques to whatever you've wanted to achieve in your life?
Yeah, look, I commonly reflect on what I've been doing. If I'm finding myself reverting to some unhealthy behaviours that I'm not that happy with, I might sit down and reflect about, okay, so why am I doing this more now? Is it serving a purpose? Or am I just not being prepared enough with what I would like to do? And then putting some strategies in place to re-establish a more healthy habit.
Okay. It seems to me like we need to be vigilant constantly with ourselves to assess how we're going with our goals.
Yeah, look, I think it takes a lot of self-reflection and thinking about what you're currently doing and why you're doing it. So if you sit down and you think about, are you doing these behaviours because that's what you've always done, or it takes a lot of energy to research healthier ones, or perhaps it's sort of a coping mechanism. So some people might do certain things to make them feel better. So sitting down and thinking about what purpose each of these things serve, and then putting in substitutes in place. We can't just stop behaviours, we need to substitute it with something more healthy.
And sometimes things are addictive, like eating cooked food is addictive, so that's why it's hard to give it up.
Yeah, look, that can come into it as well. So if there's something that, is very, very tempting for you, then coming up with a strategy or a solution that can take its place might be useful.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on the program. Would you like to come back next week? We'll continue.
That'd be great.
Okay. You've been watching NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich and our guest was Angela Seeger. We'll see you again next week.
If you were living on the streets, wouldn't you want more than just your best friend to keep you safe and warm? Donate to Backpack Bed for Homeless and give warm, waterproof protection and dignity tonight. Call 1300 OZ-HELP.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Alleluia. Om Mani Padme Om. Allah.
Welcome. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and again we're speaking with Jessie Kaur Singh, a peace and rights activist. And in our past conversation we were talking about interfaith and the different levels. And Jessie, I'd like to ask you, how do you involve in interfaith and bringing the two, or the various faiths into relationship?
I suppose, like I'd said in our last week's program, that Sikhism was born out of an interfaith. The Guru Nanak had traveled around the world bringing faith people, faith leaders together, and his mission was that we all have to live together as community. And I've been very passionate about this right from the start, so that's why as soon as we had established the Sikh Gurdwara, I started working on interfaith. And one of the ways of, interfaith is not just a few of us getting together and, yarning away. But beyond that is actually try and do programs where we can actually bring grassroots, the academics and the government together. And since I've been in Melbourne for the last 10 years, Common, the Centre of Melbourne Multifaith, would take on a very serious project on International Peace Day, UN International Peace Day, which falls on the 21st of September. And every year we've brought community together, even our generations together. We've had a program where we brought the youth and the elders together, so there was something happening for the children, something happening for the young people, and we would choose a topic, and the topic would be care of the land, sharing of wisdom, and there's been various topics of it. This year we've taken on the topic of the wisdom of marriage. As we know, what the world is going through right now is the breakdown of relationships, which is causing so much of trauma to our children, causing trauma within the family, and the whole breakdown of society. So we've the Common has taken on wisdom of marriage, and we are holding a program this year at the Orthodox Jewish Church, Jewish synagogue.
Yes.
Now, something that has never happened. I think all that hard work over the years have been paying off, and this realization of every religion now that we have to work with the others. We are not the only ones, and we're very blessed in Australia, especially in Melbourne, where we have become a multicultural, multi-faith society, and we really are blessed to really respect one another. And the Orthodox synagogue has opened their doors for us to have an interfaith panel discussion on the sharing of wisdom of marriage within their faiths. And on that, it happens to fall on a Saturday, so we'll actually be doing it in the evening and experience a Sabbath and Sukkot, which is their environmental day, so their ceremonies, and then after that we'd have a panel, and perhaps it's the first in history in the world, because we close our doors of all our prayer houses. We don't let anybody else enter, and this is opening up the door to say, look, come, let's pray together, let's eat together, and let's actually dialogue together. And I've got the program that is open for anybody and everybody to come to. Unfortunately, there's only about 100 seats that we can't take a lot of people because there's not a lot of space, but you have to book with us.
And this is all not for profit. This is
yes. No,
yes.
It's all free, and we will also serve food. Being a Sikh, I couldn't have an event without serving food. So, and for the last 10 years, we've always been able to serve food, simple but yet wholesome food. At the beginning, we are very fortunate this year. We've got a little bit of grant from the Victorian Multicultural Commission, and the government has given us to do that, so we'll be able to cater some food. But normally we've turned to the Sikhs, and they've always provided us with food for that day. Yeah.
Yes, this issue of food is a very interesting one, and it does bring people together. And often it's the hospitality of some of the first peoples and some of the Middle Eastern peoples as well. Their hospitality is very deep, and it's the sharing of the food which makes it so, isn't it?
And that's so with all religions. I mean, really, hospitality was. We were talking of the missionaries, or the monastic living. It was all hospitality. Really, to be godly is to be treating everybody as your own, and you share whatever you have. And hospitality is a big one with us Sikhs. To be a Sikh, I have to first open my door and share what I have. That's just living my religion.
Yes.
Yes.
And that hospitality, from a Sikh point of view, also extends to a tolerance or an acceptance.
Yes,
acceptance
yes,
rather than tolerance,
yeah.
of the spiritual perspective of each person.
Yes, that's so. And I remember my trip to the Vatican. I think I was telling you about last week, and I talked about how there were two issues. One is the human rights issue and our right to wear a turban and keep our hair long if that's what our religion is asking us to do so. And the other one was about the whole world, the poverty that there is no reason why anybody needs to be hungry, have no bed to sleep in. We have enough, the whole planet, we have enough. It's just that we need to share. And as Sikhs, we are very fortunate that even now, or if you go to Sikh Gurdwaras, we have food there, and most times you can even, if there's nowhere to sleep, you can always go and sleep there. And I asked the Vatican to do that among the churches, because there's churches all over the world, and so if every church has that hospitality as part of their prayer, we will overcome so many issues that has as is a challenge in this planet, And they laughed at me, and I said, of course, it got to start with the big areas, like the Vatican itself. And they laughed. They said to me, we have about 50,000 people that come through. And I said, if you go to the Golden Temple in Amritsar in India, we have about 60,000 people that come through a day, and we have a kitchen there 24/7.
Yes.
And then on weekends, sometimes we have 120,000 people that will come. So
the time is here again, Jesse.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll be back in a moment.
Classifications let you know about the content of movies and computer games, so you can make informed choices. G tells you the content is suitable for general viewing and playing. PG means parental guidance is recommended, and the content may not be suitable for younger children. M says it's recommended for mature audiences over 15. MA 15 Plus indicates that legal restrictions apply, and the material is not suitable for those under 15. R18 Plus is restricted to 18 years and above. You can also find useful consumer advice next to the classification. Look out for these symbols on games, DVDs, advertising posters and movies. Please use these classifications to help you choose with confidence.
If you choose to speed,
You could ruin lives.
someone else's, your family's, or your own,
Choose not to instead.
the right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
We always liked to play chess together ever since we were little. He was always a better player than me. When I was diagnosed with Pompe's disease in 2002, I was told that my life expectancy was going to be poor, and my condition deteriorated rapidly before I was able to start treatment. My brother and I both suffered from the disease. But now I consider myself the fortunate one. My brother spent the last 2 years of his life in hospital. He didn't have access to this wonderful treatment that should be available to everybody. The world just keeps getting smaller as you progressively lose the ability to walk. So your world shrinks, and then gradually you realise, I haven't been to the supermarket in 6 months. I'm 59 now, and every year I can see my daughter grow up is a blessing. I believe my treatment's made this possible.
To learn more and help those living with Pompe's disease, register at australianpompe.com.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity. We're speaking with Jessie Kaur Singh, a peace and rights activist. I think it was either early this year or late last year, there was a pretty important gathering up north in Queensland. It was a solar eclipse. It's the Yarrangbar collective, was it?
Yes.
You were there.
Yes, I was there. I was very
I
was very fortunate. It was an Indigenous First Nations gathering for the eclipse. It was very special. I think this eclipse comes every 60 years or something like that, you know. And it was happening sometime in August last year. I can't remember the exact date.
Yes.
I think it was 26, but I'm getting old. But yeah, I was very fortunate to be invited, and it was such an honor to be at Yarrabah with the elders and the young people of Yarrabah. They had invited people from around the world to be. It was an international gathering, and it was so special. It was the first time in history there was a revival of the fire ceremony that took place, you know, a ceremony that has been forgotten by our First Nations people. You know, interesting phenomena that's taking place. Many of the rituals, many of the sacred things that were forgotten over the whole white-only policy that had taken place has started coming back.
Yes.
There is a practice that slowly there's a reminder, language and ritual. So the fire holders, the Yarrabah community, the elders were the fire holders, and they decided to call on world community to come to do a ritual. And I tell you what I brought into that ritual was the multi-faith part of it. And which was really welcomed, you know. When the ceremony took place, when the eclipse actually took place, we all were wearing that eclipse goggles on our eye, because you can't look in the sun. And when they did that ceremony, they turned to me, and I finished off by singing the multi-chant, acknowledging all the different religions. You know, you can't acknowledge every religion, but the few that we normally do. And I'm sure you hear Daya sings multi-chant in most of your programs.
It's the opening theme for our program.
And I did. It was an acknowledgement that this land is now not just the land of our original habitants, but the land of all nations. You know. So I sang the 6 or 7 different chants that I knew. And wow, it was just phenomenal. It was, and Uncle Reg, unfortunately, who's been the president of Common, you know, who has been the active Aboriginal person. He was the first person to become the president of an interfaith organization. Unfortunately, become very ill. But his wife, Auntie Walder, who is actually my vice president of the Women's Interfaith Network, and Rachel Shield had gone from here. And we were able to play a role in bringing further harmony. We had lots of conversations on the role of Indigenous community and how we could all live in harmony.
There were quite a few representatives from overseas groups, weren't there? What sort of range was that?
Yeah, they had somebody from Europe. They had a couple of people from Europe, you know, a few different nations in Europe, and there was the Native Americans, a couple of people from there. Then there was a Mexican representative there. And what I was able to, because I've been part of many international interfaith organizations as well as forums around the world, I was able to connect with many different organizations, you know, especially the First Nations, and I brought messages from many countries, including Cambodia, Philippines, and we were able to sponsor Philippines, an elder from a young elder from Philippines to actually attend that. And I'm hoping and praying that we can do this more often. You know, we need to bring people. The face-to-face meetings are so important. That's what we do to our events that we hold. You know, we can all have dialogue, but having face-to-face dialogue is so important, and break down this pain and sadness and the distrust that has been inbuilt, to say, hey, hold on, we're all the same, we all have red blood. I think red blood going through our bodies. Some of them might claim it's blue, but you know, and that we eat and let's live here together.
Yes. What was some of the outcomes from that meeting? Were there any key point outcomes which
yes, there was. Firstly, it was an empowerment to our elders, and that revival of the fire ceremony, for them to suddenly feel, yes, we got something which is harmoniously can be practiced. So that empowerment and the young people, that the dialogue that they had with us, with people from all over. So the whole Yarrabah nation was empowered, and there was indigenous people from Queensland, from all different areas. In fact, we had a strange phenomena that took place. We had one other elder who was also a fire holder of his tribe, who actually passed away on that moment when that eclipse took place. While there was a birthing that took place, there was also death. He was in a tent just a few yards away, and he actually died. He passed on. And at his passing on, again, I felt, being a nurturer, I was able to play a role in helping nurture his daughter and his nephews that he had brought along. And also they wanted us to do a multi-faith prayers, which we were able to do. And yeah, it was a phenomena that there's still much to be done.
Yes.
Which we haven't been able to follow through. Because from there went on, after that was the 12-12-12 ceremony that took place with the Mayan community in Guatemala that I was also part of.
Now the Mayans have been around for a long time, but we can't be, so we'll go to a break and we'll pick up on the Mayans in a moment.
Sure, thank you.
We'll be back in a moment.
Every time we buy certified organic, we're making a choice to help our environment and build a healthier community. But it can be hard to know that what we're buying is truly organic. The Australian Certified Organic logo is only given to products after a very rigorous process. So when you see this logo, it means you can trust that there are no genetically modified foods, no animal cruelty, and no harsh synthetic pesticides used. A healthier community is always better for our future. So the next time you shop, look for this logo.
William Terrell was abducted from his nana's home on the New South Wales mid-north coast on the 12th of September 2014. And somebody knows who did it. Do you? There is a $1 million reward for information that leads police to William. That's 1 million reasons to make the call. Contact Crime Stoppers now. 1800 333 000. Make the call.
Stop! Hold it right there. Have you done your pool safety check? Maintain the barriers, check the gate, and never leave anything that can be climbed on near the fence. Have you brushed up on your CPR skills? And don't tempt kids with toys. Tidy up.
Is that all?
When kids are around the pool, keep watch. They need your attention all the time. Okay, in we go.
Download your free home pool safety checklist and help Royal Lifesaving make this weekend your home pool safety weekend.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and we're speaking with Jessie Kaur Singh, a peace and rights activist. Now, when we were speaking in the last segment, you were just about to launch into a description of the Maya experience that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Please, Jessie.
You know, what's happened historically, and everybody has talked the Mayan calendar we mentioned, yes. and we talk of the end of the world, and the Mayans have predicted that 12-12-12 was the end of the world. But what it was not really end of the world, but a rebirthing of another cosmic energy that it is. And I got invited by the Mayan community to actually attend ceremonies in Guatemala, in the hills, at some of the old Mayan temples. So I I did go for it, and I was able to take my daughter Jamil, who's been our projects manager, who's been trained in this interfaith area since she was a little girl, and is beginning to do a lot of work with me. And we had an amazing gatherings most of the people that were there were, again, indigenous communities or the First Nations from North and South. And the Mayans talked of 12-12 table, the coming together of the North and the South. Okay. And what we brought was the remembrance that the East and West exist too, and we need to come together. So, we played a big role. I think, firstly, representing not just the Sikhs, but the interfaith community or the faith communities of the world, and everybody, because as you know, all our organizations, we say, Common, the Centre of Melbourne, Multi-Faith and Others Network. So we're inclusive of every leaf, every atom that there is. We don't discriminate again. So we were able to bring this from the rest of the planet. And every time they talked of the North and South coming together, I would say yes, and the East and the West. Yeah. So they talked of the condor and the eagle coming together. Okay. And then I reminded them that there was eagles in the East too. In fact, if you look at Indonesia, their symbol, the Garuda, which is the airlines is Garuda is an eagle. So that eagle of the East has to also come and meet the big eagle or the condor, if you want to call, of the South. And it was fantastic. Every time they started the ceremony, we would do the multi-chant. We would finish with the multi-chant with Jamil there. It was just phenomenal. And for me, it was like going home in many ways. I was just so amazed because those Mayan people look like my own community in appearance, in their behavior, in their rituals and culture, their embroidery and their dress. It was, and Jamil would say, oh my God, that looks like Auntie so-and-so, and that looks like Uncle so-and-so, and that looks like Grandpa, and that. So it was, maybe I almost felt as if, why me, out of all the people, of all the people in the planet that had ended up, that maybe we were the lost family, that had come home on that day. So it was very spiritually there on the 12-12 day, on the 12-12 morning. We actually started off with rituals in the morning, and being part of it was just amazing.
It's just picking up on that sort of sense of commonality with the eclipse and with this experience.
Yes.
Did you experience that commonality across the board?
Oh, very much so. It was really interesting because we had just come from the Yoruba gathering. And Uncle Reg, I'll talk about him, he actually passed on the 12-12-12 morning. When I had told my, when the invitation came, it was just not for me, but for the Aboriginal people from here, and they'd asked me if I could bring in. I'd spoken to Uncle Reg and he wanted to come, but unfortunately he had taken ill. So when I told them that he had cancer and he was really on the deathbed, and they said, look, bring his picture and we will do healing ceremonies, And we were sitting there that morning, starting ceremony, and they asked me to put his picture on the altar, and the picture fell.
Yes.
And I got up from my seat and I went and I lifted the picture again, and then there was this wind that blew, it was like, I don't know where this wind was, and the picture fell again. So it was telling me to let go. Yes. And sure enough, minutes later, Jamil taps on me and she says she's just got a text saying that Uncle Reg has passed on. So there was that connection there. That connection with the eclipse, the fire ceremony, and the birth of that fire ceremony, and the passing of an Aboriginal elder who was from Mackay, he passing, and then Uncle Reg passing, and then with the community, and during that period there was many elders who seemed to have passed away. So it was like getting rid, I think that's a horrible word for me to say, you know, getting rid, you know, is actually of passing on of old spirit to new spirit, the birth. So that whole concept of the Mayans, you know, or that the world will come to an end, has been so misunderstood.
Yes, yes.
And it was about a phase in the history of mankind, which was coming to an end. And sure enough, since then we've had so many things happen. Some you could say negative, but there are many, many positive things that are happening with what's happening in the world. I mean, look at Egypt.
Yes.
And look at our own politics here in Australia. You know, I feel, there's something beautiful happening.
There is something beautiful happening. I think something powerful happening in the Aboriginal community with, for example, NTV, the television channel.
Isn't that just...
there seems to be an emergence of a consciousness, of an awareness, of a unity of being an Aboriginal, which has in the past escaped.
So that eclipse, you know, that whole birthing of the whole new energy that took place in Europe, and then one of the things that we did talk about at that gathering was about media and how equity, you know, of beings, you know. I talked about how every Aboriginal child should be on a scholarship. We shouldn't say, oh, he's on the dole. He should be on a scholarship, just like the football, you know, interns get, because their culture, that dancing has to be revived, because that's what makes them, and it should be, you know.
When you dance, Jessie, you dance to time.
Yeah, there's so much to share.
Yeah, there is so much, and we'll continue next week if you will. Just referring back to the gathering of the wisdom of marriage that we addressed earlier, you can get more details by Googling Common or by contacting us through our website www.harmonyindiversity.net. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back next week with more of a conversation on these fascinating subjects with Jessie Singh.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu
This bank is helping to save lives. Every year, 500,000 Victorians have no idea where their next meal is coming from. Food Bank Victoria works with farmers, supermarkets and manufacturers to make sure their surplus stock ends up here to be distributed to those in need. But all of this is not enough. Right now, this bank needs interest, your interest, to support Victorians in need. If you can help, visit foodbankvictoria.org.au.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
The following program carries an MA classification and may contain adult themes and coarse language. MELfeed.video advises that it is suitable for viewers aged 15 plus.
Standing in an inner-city alley with only my thoughts and my carcinogen, I attempted to consider all known absolutes. Bills, Milo, finances, and the cancerous cells now invading the organs in my chest. The laneway is garbage, the foul stench more than just a visage to mask the unpleasantness of the occupants. But I like it for the fresh air it brings. As I smoked, one occupant passed me. He moved so silently I did not notice him till he was right beside me. I could tell what he was, but there was something different about him. Well, yes, there was the obligatory yellow upper lip for a result from a lifelong conversation with nicotine. Well, yes, there was the worn and torn clothes from a discard pile in a clothing bin. All signs indicate I should ready my bribe for him to walk by without too much conversation. But he was silent as he passed by, eyes cast down, and he made no request, as though trying to stave off an insult he might incur from his very presence. As previously stated, this laneway is nasty. The alley where many fast food chains dump their waste into poorly aimed firings into large steel skips, so that much of the stench is a direct result from the employees on the main street. My newly found friend's occupation is scrounger, a dealer in the recently rejected and freshly disposed, sometimes for goods, more often for food. He cautiously approached one of his abodes, and in a pool of bin dregs he crouched down and washed his hands before rummaging through our garbage. He was a man who was freely rejected by society. He'd certainly earned the right to disdain the very people that disdained him, and yet he considered himself too unclean to handle that which we consider filthy. This level of humility was too astounding, rarely seen through the lives of ease. His meekness, born through a life of difficulties. Oh, please don't misunderstand me, for I do not envy this man his life, nor wish to glorify the hardships he's experienced in his time. I'm simply recalling what I saw. He was I, a belligerent youth with more mind in his own world and his very surroundings, and here was this man. Burying himself briefly and discovering nothing, he rose from his still casket and turned to walk towards me, his face grim and firm, but his posture straight and proud. Again, I waited on bated breath for his request. I reached into my pocket and held my pouch of tobacco. Should he request, should he suggest the very desire for the simplest of cigarettes, I would have extended out with all I possessed. But again, he remained silent, and I was too weak-minded to offer without request. In the moment of our crossing paths, his silence sung his commentary. His routine revealed as more than performance was his statement. He had no needs for which I could provide assistance. Not with the purest of waters would he wash his hands of this society, and he washed them clean. Often now I look down at my own palms and think how dirty they're looking.
With a scarlet color, decked with precious pearls. Upon her forehead a name was written. It read, I am the harlot of the earth. She held a golden cup of mystery, tempting me in birth. I drank with her and found my own blood was the blood she gave me for my thirst. Where is the mind which has the power to endure the dark waters skin. Mountains are falling from our sin. The great Babylon is yet to fail. On and on till at the tigers in pure. Warriors are yet to win. I long for her to touch my wounds and fill them with her fill. She made me weep for her sated lips, which left me biting hard upon my gift. Oh, where is the mind which has the power to endure the dark crosses of her skin? Mountains are falling from her sin. The great Babylon is yet to fail. On and on till the tigers in. Pure warriors are yet to win. Oh, the great Babylon is yet to fail. On and on till the tigers in. Pure warriors are yet to win. Oh, pure warriors are yet to
win. This is called Mr. Disease, and it goes like this. Scrappy, dirty, coarse, life living flow, continually punching nasty liver blows. Hey, Mr. Disease, please leave me a slitter so my mind and body don't bend and wither. Getting the shakes, uncontrollable shivers. Side pain and sorrow is what you deliver. Thought you'd be an Indian giver. Slow down, man, I'm starting to quiver. If you don't stop now, I'll never forgive her. Unbalanced and spiralling into Black Hole River.
Every new line means 2 more hands. Join us, lions.org.au.
Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Daddy's gonna sing you a lullaby. When you're sleeping safe and sound, you've got the proudest dad in town. I remember when I first saw you, your heart beating as you grew. We'll read you stories to help you dream. Your mommy and I are a perfect team. I can't wait to hear you sing or watch as you put on a wedding ring. One day you'll have children too. Remember the times I sang to you.
Hi, I'm Lane Beachley. Australians have recycled enough printer cartridges to cover Bondi Beach 12 times. That's kept 11,000 tonnes of valuable resources out of landfill. Drop your used original cartridges into the special boxes at participating retail outlets, and they'll be turned into new products from pens to road surfaces. Help us keep up the good work. Find out more at cartridges.planetark.org.
This patch on the top of my head, which has gray around it, isn't an accident. It was born by too many nights wondering whether the click of clips and bullets would click my spinal cord and render me useless, a dummy at half stance. My life and dreams are half mast, but seeing your lips can make me whole again. There is beautiful language trapped beside your teeth, alongside the extra long blacks and the flat whites. 32 of them galloping at me and not taking time to apologize for stunning me with beauty. This gun is better than anything a policeman could pull out in front of me. You are gorgeous, like a Guinness poured for my own satisfaction. Be my midnight dream. Be my malignancy. Be my fear of living and taking every single breath for granted. If you want to take my life, stay beautiful like this. Stay as liquid and as seamless as the rim of the glass where I make my music by running my fingers inside of your skin. And when the midnight dawns, be the old bard my peoples can't live without reading. If you want to have me inside your skin, I will welcome you softly as a sheet of music, but don't confuse Beethoven and Mozart. They're not the same thing. Count Basie and Duke Ellington don't stray, but these horn lines should tell you what music I'm saying. Just hear my metaphors and live inside of them. Metaphors are truths that can't be absent from what you imbue them with. Sydney is like a simile. Melbourne is a metaphor. I'm not saying it's better, I'm just saying it is. It's the weeping children inside the alleyways who don't have books, but have books inside of them. No one's willing to read them because it doesn't make millions of dollars to listen to what another young child has to say, but we wonder why they have knives. We wonder why they stick each other because we've stuck them inside of a corner and placed a dunce hat inside their brains. Before they even began to reconstruct the vocabulary, they were refugees from their own minds. We kill them softly with curriculum and boredom. But we can solve this. There's a hallelujah that Jeff Buckley wants to give you wrapped in Leonard Cohen's skin. There's a beautiful song that can make little things grow into way, way, way up there, gigantic trees, and we can take our time because Vincent Lingari wants to tell us a story. We don't have to be bored inside of our own lives. They wait until they die to put poetry that is interesting on their stones. Well, I'm living bread. I'm a walking metaphor. I spread my vitamin P everywhere I can go. On every waiting, pulsating, living, wanting microphone, lend me your earlobes so I can whisper psalms inside of them. I'm that sinner that wants to kill a teddy bear and an assassin in the same breath. I'm a father. I'm a lover, not a fighter. Paul, I told you. The girl isn't mine, Cam. Amelia, you are not alone. But I'm not here with you just to masturbate on top of a microphone and make sure this mesh is a perfect centimeter away from my lips. I can taste you. When the moon drips blood and the sanguine beats split like syncopated staccato rhythms, I can hear you inside of my blood. I'm waiting for you to hang like the mirror of brake dust on Sydney Road inside of Brunswick. I want to inhale you and sketch you on the insides of my bronchioles until I bleed sonnets and sestinas, the happenstance haiku that somehow grows up into a bleeding heart flower on top of my grave. It's a living existence. It has no home but your beating heart. Will you let it in? This is not for scores. This is not meant for time limits. Unless eternity has a stopwatch, I'm not really interested. Will you let me chase your 32 beautiful teeth? Will you let me be your flat white? Can you transform into my long black that is now and now and now? I don't want to say I love you. Four-letter words tend to drive you away. This between us, it's sacred and it's secular. It's fragmented and it's whole. It is why we breathe and why we give up breathing, so we can taste the lungs of another planet, so we can vibrate on strings that quantum physics hasn't figured out, because some things between us should remain mystery. So we are inspired and choose to keep on breathing. You be my melody. I'm harmonizing with the asteroids. Smash into me. I'll be waiting. In fragments and pieces. In bones and in cells that have no keys. They push and they pull you closer to me. These words have made me their temple. Will you chant with me? Will you breathe? Will you live until we both sing? Please.
Lonely grey unplanned, barren stony land, solitary tent, working 9 to 5 just to pay the rent. Bitter midlife crisis formality, giving up life dreams for reality. Closing my eyes, I visualise, but nothing starts to crystallise. Days listless, sanitised, distorted. Any creative thoughts, ostensibly aborted. Tick-tock, writer's block, stare at the clock, gotta go to work. Early morning dread, corporate concrete head, mashed potato minds, I'm going back to bed. Suit, jacket and tie, immediately shed. A plethora of magic bursts would be heaven sent. Abracadabra, full moon rising, vein acid washed horizons, a penny for more thoughts. Tick-tock, tick-tock, writer's block, tick-tock, tick-tock, stare at the clock, making me go berserk! It's going to be a long time now before I go back to work. Words, wonderful words now forming, flowing euphoric. Here they come, out they sought. Confidence soaring, for I'm the juggernaut. So that's how it felt doing that.
Every time you shop, the choices you make affect our community. It is important to select Australian products made by Aussie-owned companies. Our food security means quality and peace of mind. Your purchasing power keeps your dollars multiplying in our economy, keeping jobs, profits and decisions being made right here, which is better for your children.
So the next time you buy, look for the AusBuy logo. It makes all the difference.
It's always been my dream to represent Australia in the Olympics. Epilepsy affects nearly 250,000 Australians. Like me, most people have their seizures controlled with medication. Even today, people with epilepsy face incredible discrimination, but this prejudice is just another obstacle we can overcome. We're just as capable as anyone else, and often we have to be stronger. I promise I'll do my best for Australia. Will you do your best for me?
Are you playing renovation roulette? I'm John Jarrett.
Now I know that deadly asbestos lies hidden in 1/3 of Aussie homes. It can be found in any home built or renovated before 1987.
Lurking in walls, under floor covering, behind tiles, in roofing. Asbestos. It was used everywhere.
So if you're a renovator or a tradie, you could be risking your life and the lives of others.
Remember, go slow. Asbestos, it's a no-go. Visit asbestosawareness.com.au to learn what you need to know.
Sarcasm, criticism, nepotism, indecision, sacrifice, load of dice, pay the price, push and shove, rise above, you've got to do what you love. Grab your dream while you can. Go back to school if that's your plan. Dig for oil in Paran. Or bet a fat chick with a suntan. You've got to do what you love, man. Be a mechanic or learn Hispanic. Be a plumber or a drummer. Drive a Hummer or become a runner. Buy a horse with no remorse. Be a sailor or a tailor. Become an actor or drive a tractor. You've got to do what you love. Don't live your life full of regrets. People won't remember, they'll just forget. Make it count, take your chance. If you don't, keep your mouth shut, for you have settled in the rut. Work it over with a white glove. You've got to do what you love. No school ties or vicious lies. Private schoolboys with connections. Some will fester with infections. So while at school, don't mess around and get suspended. Or worry about the arsehole, soon to be mentioned. Work real hard, keep going forward, and work real hard. Large asses, square glasses, welcome to HR. Sorry, all you consultants out there. Directors, protectors, and interceptors may put you off or leave a scar. Reach for the skies and don't take shite. Mustn't forget old money is tight. Though one day soon the corporate bubble will go pop. It already has, and I wrote it before it did. Yeah? I've lost my train of thought now. When they realise they're mortals, it will stop. You only get one chance at life and true romance. Make it count and believe in yourself. Roll the dice or go through hell. Many have tried and many have fell. Rise above, you've got to do what you love. Rise above, you've got to do what you love. You've got to do what you love.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Brunswick, one of the coolest suburbs, if not the coolest suburb in all of Melbourne. Thank you so much. I'm glad you've come to 3056, or Trio 56 as this project is called, for the first CD launch. It's been a fantastic effort trying to get it together. A CD that poets will love and people who aren't poets will love. In the meantime, please welcome Our Lady of Guinness, the convener for the Drunken Poet. Delicious, alphabetical, and always charismatic. Put your hands together for the one, the only, Lish Skek.
Look at me, I'm plastic. Aren't I just fantastic? White teeth, flaxen hair, bulbous breast legs everywhere. I love my plastic surgeon, personal trainer too. I was depressed in a mess. Now I'm all brand new. So desirable, unrecognisable. My friends say, who are you? My boyfriend really loves me 'cause I'm not so pudgy. Little tuck here, some suction there. I've got new underwear, collagen in my lips, Botox in my hips. My girlfriends really hate me 'cause the boys all chase me, but they can't touch this. I'm off the list. Don't look at me. I'm plastic. Body's going splastic. Saggy facelift and leaky tits. My girlfriends really love me 'cause I'm so butt ugly. Boyfriend left, couldn't stand the mess. My dress size is expanding. Soon I won't be standing from the plates in my legs. But it was the trend. Longer the better. Makes a man more eager. I hate my plastic surgeon. Personal trainer too. I should have stuck to normality. My final reality? I think I'll sue. Thank you.
The limelight beckons as the spotlights splash on the glittered stage. Success and fame at such a young age. Life dealt them a hand of gifted skills. Genius performers turning poems to songs. For those who can handle this magical gift, their lives will sadly swing, dangle and drift. Through the sands of fame, in the background, a magnificent riff. Piaf, Bonham, Joplin, Morrison, Presley, Cobain and Bon. Of course there are many more. Aches and pains disposed of as they dance through heaven's door. Media pressure their greatest drain. They had their music to ease the pain, as cleansing as black forest rain. Their fishbowl lies for all to see. Parasites picking at their flesh. The hovering press, that's the price they paid. Where were they before their success? Not at the early gigs where their genre was made. The great strength of immortality, which quickly diminished, they had died before they were finished. Massive shock of the voyeuristic world was their chagrin as their rise unfurled. The shy have perished on the fame bestowed, playing Russian roulette with powders and pills, approved substance abuse to ease the load, intensified tempo and settle the nerves, enhanced better shows to the fans they served. Innocence with hopes and dreams, another encore as the fans shout and scream. That was the buzz they were seeking, for all it to make sense while they were peaking. We are to blame for the greats who have left, before their finale, their lives a theft. As the spotlights go out on the darkened stage, their stars will shine brightly and will never fade.
I'm just going to do this poem about the bushfires we had last year. The brave cafe that still stands serves defrosted frozen cake, but don't look for petrol in Kinglake, it turned to fire. The hills stretch for miles, burned, denuded, sad. The apocalypse has come and gone, black trees, brown leaves, scorched earth are what remain. Don't go to Kinglake without much petrol because no one sells it anymore. Both stations blew up and what remains are metal skeletons and heaps of broken, twisted stuff. I never saw the valley of the shadow of death before. I only heard the words that now I have seen a land where life evaporated and even the ghosts have gone.
Four walls of this once great city rapidly closing in. Can't keep them apart with an empty bottle of gin. Excessive drinking, my head is in a spin. Got to get myself together, my life to underpin. The game of life is unpredictable. How do you win? Been taking too many big hits on my chinny chin chin. Living in a police state. Sorry, Evo. While sleazy cats plaidly display their gaudy gold bling alongside the politically correct is worn very thin, since when has speaking your mind been classified as sin? Fuck yes! I'm moving to a remote country, gonna do my own thing!
For interesting and informative interviews, join us for NAT Chat Monday nights at 8. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Hi, I'm Sarah O'Hare and you're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes. Now its talent and energy can be utilised for community good. So thank you all for being involved in Spring Fashion Week, which promises to be a very exciting event for Melbourne.
Thank you very much for your hard work. We look forward to a wonderful and very fashionable week. The eyes of the world will be on Australia. The eyes of the world will be on Australia. The eyes of the world will be on Australia.
Of course, without a fashion parade, there isn't nothing but a fashion party, and this is the place you get to meet the people.
Made his debut into the fabulous world of modelling at the GQ Fashion Parade last year, and that's happening again this Thursday. Are you going to be strutting your stuff down the runway?
No, it's all over for me now. Out of fashion capital Melbourne, what makes Melbourne so good and fashion?
Good at fashion?
Yeah.
I think we have, Melbourne has a lot of really great fashion designers. Bettina Liano is one of my favourites. I've always worn her jeans. I just think it's a different image than Sydney. I think they have a different idea of fashion.
What about globally? How does it compare to the rest of the world that's going around? I mean, obviously Europe is the fashion base of the world, but how does Melbourne compete with something like that?
New Yorkers would disagree with that comment. They're very competitive. But I think Melbourne's very competitive too, and I think Melbourne, Sydney, the whole of Australia as designers fantastic. I really do think they compete with the foreign market. You can see that if you go into a Barney's New York store, you see so many Australian designers. Wayne Cooper, Bettina Liano's there. It's really
name drop that one again.
Oh, Bettina Liano. No.
You want sponsorship?
Yeah.
Love it.
I should be. I wear a jean so much now.
I want to know why Sarah O'Hare thinks Bettina Liano's are the best jeans. Chelsea, what is it about the cut that makes them so fabulous to wear?
Well, Bettina's made her jeans so that the leg fits well. Everyone raves about the tight bum in the Bettina Liano jeans.
So big bums are okay to kind of be tucked in there?
Oh, well, no one has a big bum in Bettina jeans. No, they're all cut really well. She's done it for all shapes and sizes. Yeah. I don't know, everything about them just screams Bettina, screams perfection.
Doing this week in Melbourne with the Fashion Week? How many shows will you be seeing?
Will I be seeing? I'm going to try and see a couple. I have a pretty tight schedule working with the Research Institute, which is the charity I'm working on this week. So
which finishes with the Grand Ball.
Yeah, South Spring Soiree on Friday night, which should be pretty good. Yeah, so I'll try and see what shows I can.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Enjoy it. When are you coming back to Melbourne after this week?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. Big agenda there.
We'll see.
It's a big ask. Do you love Melbourne or?
Yeah, I don't really know Melbourne very well. I'm a Sydney girl, but I do love Melbourne. Yeah. I love anywhere in Australia.
What's the difference between, I mean, obviously there's a rivalry between Sydney and Melbourne. What is that rivalry?
What is that? It's like New York and LA. I don't know, just maybe because Sydney's better.
Oh, now I beg to differ. The door is that way. You haven't been in Melbourne long enough.
Wow, the air kiss that just go, there's kisses galore, the champagne flowing by the bottleful, Cosmopolitans are definitely the drink of the day, and let's just flow through the crowd to see who else is here.
Chelsea, do you just want to run us through some of the best sellers, perhaps?
Definitely. Well, our best seller is without a doubt the True Boot, which we've got here. The True Boot is your basic bootleg. It fits well, straight leg, perfect. We've got a few different colours in them. We've got Scrapers, which is the denim. we've got the washed out black, like that, and we've also got the stretch in those. Then our other salads, which we've got, are the swingers down the bottom there.
What's a swinger jean?
The swinger jean is the jean without a waistband. It fits perfectly. It's a stretch denim. The ones I'm wearing at the moment, which are these ones, they're very low cut. They come in 2 different colour denims.
I quite like those ones, actually.
Yeah, no, those ones are fantastic. And then you've got your basic jean, which sit up a bit higher. So basically she's covered all aspects of a jean for all different shapes and sizes of a woman.
Okay. And so can you tell us what kind of person likes to wear Bettina Liano jeans?
Oh, person with style. Everybody that comes in here walks away satisfied and quite happy with a pair of Bettina jeans. Everyone walking in and out has, I know, they buy them to make themselves look great, which they succeed in doing. I know. Yeah.
I think I might just go and try a pair on myself, actually.
Another round.
I'd have a champagne, thanks.
Not a problem.
Ta!
We're joined here by Greg from Giant Models. Temporarily bang, I used to be with them, goodness sakes. Terrible. Now, can you tell me why is it, I mean, Melbourne fashion is probably pretty big.
Yeah,
world known.
Yeah.
Why is it half the models aren't from Melbourne?
You explain it to me. I really don't know.
Now, everybody...
I'm trying to get to the bottom of this, but I don't know yet.
Everybody here tonight is basically from Sydney?
Most people. I think some of the girls tonight were from Melbourne, but most of the talent coming down from Sydney for the shows.
So as a casting agency and model agency yourself, does this really annoy you?
Yes.
See, you know, this is the guy you got to see because you want the talent. You just come to this boy. We've got to put them out there on the pool. I think, is it a case of you have to do it yourself?
Yeah, I think so. It's a matter of getting the models out there and getting them known and getting them seen by the designers and making sure that they know that there is the talent in Melbourne as well as in Sydney.
I mean, how hard is it in Melbourne? I mean, competitive-wise, getting everybody...
It's a very big market. It's a very busy market, Melbourne, and it's more renowned for being a photographic and a catalogue market, but there is a lot of runway here and a lot of TV commercials shot here. So I consider it to be a money market, really.
For sure. Well, if you want to be a model, talk to this boy, Giant Model Agency.
So in the parade, go with the models. We're going to miss the damn thing. 161, hurry up, Fat 52.
You're all right, I'm coming. Another parade, another event here at 161.
everybody else is having fun at the fashion show, but I'm here today having fun here with Sarah from tx47. How are you going?
Good, thank you.
That's good. Would you be able to just tell us a little bit about how you got started and the background of the label?
FAT was started by 4 ladies, basically because we were all designers and had trouble finding a place to stock our stuff. So basically it started as a platform for our own creative boundaries, pushing them, but kind of changed along the way, and now we started with 6 different designers, now we have 80, ranging from fashion, artwork, jewellery, music, homewares, you name it. So it's 2 years down the track, we have 2 shops, or 3 years down the track, 2 shops, and that's basically about it.
The man behind me here, the man behind the woman. How are you, Jeffrey?
Good, it was good. It was a great show.
Yeah?
It went really well.
Now, where can we find your stuff out in the streets there, your streetwear?
I wholesale to different boutiques all around Melbourne, like in all the inner city area, like in St Kilda, Fitzroy, Alice Euphemia in the city, tx47.
How would you describe your style? High-end streetwear?
No, it's actually kind of simplistically cut, but kind of classically comfortable fabrics, easy to wear, and fits into people's lives, and people can take a garment from one situation to another.
Right. So are you saying that who would be a typical wearer of your design?
A professional woman who wants comfortable clothes, who knows how to dress and knows what they feel comfortable with, and something that enhances them as a person rather than transform them into something else. So the clothes that work with the personality of the wearer.
Fantastic, thank you.
Amy, here we are, another designer. What a place to have a show here. It's very Parisian, I must say, quite funky.
Very cool.
How did this all happen? Did you all guys get together and say, hey, let's come here and do a fashion parade? Or
I think tx47 organised the whole thing, and so they chose the venue, I guess.
So where do we see your wares out in the street?
tx47 Chapel Street, and in the city, Alice Euphemia, and St Kilda, the Dollhouse. A few places out and about.
And what was your style and inspiration this year?
This collection has 2 streams. One's called Hunter, one's called Rule. Hunter being inspired by the taste, Rule being inspired by the line between good and evil.
Well, we just saw some of the fabulous designs on the catwalk. How important is it to young designers that they have a shop like this or have access to sort of getting their labels out there?
I think it's pretty important. As I said a couple of years ago, it was very hard to find anywhere to anywhere to sell as a young designer, and I think it's hard also for people to believe in young designers. It's kind of hard to start out. So, we are a platform, and I don't know, I think it's pretty important. I think it's amazing the amount of designers that have come out of the woodwork in the 3 years that we've been going, and a lot of people I think maybe wouldn't have got to where they are or wouldn't have started if they didn't have shops like us, and there's a few other shops in Melbourne that have also been supporting young designers.
161, and of course that was the Gorman fashion product. I'm joined here by the designer Lisa Gorman. How are you?
I'm good now.
Bit nervous for the show?
It's just always a bit of action, you know. Gotta go. Lots of things to do.
Now, how would you describe your collection?
My collection this season is it's based on modern streetwear. It's not overly girly. It's got most pieces have a touch of femininity, like, you know, a few spots here. There's things like Celtic threads. It's very, very wearable. Hoping that it'll be worn day and night. You know, it's like a crossover.
I'm just wondering, was your inspiration, you got up one day and went to the wardrobe and I haven't got a thing to wear, right, that's it, I'm sick of them, I'm going to make my own clothes. Is this how
Oh, it started way before that. No, it started with Barbie doll. I have three sisters, many Barbies.
There's been a really good response, I think because we are a little bit different and we don't follow any rules. The four of us had never worked in retail before, so the politics that come with retail we don't know about. So I think, you know, we very much have our heads down and we're doing our own thing and not looking around at what everyone else is doing, which I think is what customers like and also the designers like. So,
and there is a lot of competition in Chapel Street for sort of, you know, getting people through the door. What is it that sort of gets people in here that's sort of a bit different to all of the other shops that are down there?
I think probably the look of the shop, and that's very important. The architecture is a big part of that, and I mean, having a shop that looks, you know, a little bit different than everything else brings people in. So there's always people, you know, smudge marks on the window.
Smoke alert, fire in the building, everybody evacuate. It's all drama here. Last minute touch-ups, stapling the floor. We can all go home early and have an easy night. The queue out the front is around the block. Tonight we're going to see Zambezi. Everybody at the show gets a little bit of a show bag, and we'll sit up the back. We'll sneak. You get these everywhere. What little goodies do we find in here? Okay. Fashion mag, gotta have one. Gotta have one of those. Oh, the lady stick. Do you need a lady stick? Love one. What? Here, have it. There is no gent stick. Dressing? Jessica Tran. How many outfits does Jessica have?
3.
3 outfits. That's all you've got to do. Just 3 times.
Yep.
Pretty laid back?
No.
No? You've been stressed out?
No.
No? Well, then it's got to be laid back then, doesn't it?
It's just very hectic.
Very hectic. You look so flat out, I think I'll have to leave you. Just take your time. We're going over here. We've got some of the models. These are the girls here.
model diet.
Staple model diet.
Absolutely, we all live on just Starburst, nothing else.
And then when do you vomit?
Red Bull. That's usually after all the shows.
After the shows. I thought you had to eat, vomit, then walk out. What brings you to Australian Fashion Week?
That's a good question.
Who employed you here?
No, actually, I'm trying to think. Actually, I'm trying to.
Being a true model, huh? What?
Trying to be serious here.
There's space in the room.
Trying to be
Sorry.
serious.
Of course not. You're paid to look good.
Help me some of this. Yeah, help me some.
They can talk a lot, don't they? One mobile. This is the total thing, darling. I'm almost on. I'm almost there. We're moving from jelly babies to the stable dog. Yeah, hungry. You actually eat Hungry Jacks?
Uh-huh.
You actually, of course. Stand up for us. Now,
no.
Come on, this figure.
Seriously.
Why, you've been on your feet all day?
Had a lazy ass today, yes.
Now, how many shows have you done?
Today? Well, today we've just had one.
Just one show?
Today.
A whole week? How many are you doing?
We did a couple yesterday. Yeah, it just goes on for the whole week.
How do you feel about Zambezi fashion here?
I like it.
Have you got any little pieces yourself?
Just there. See that beautiful skirt?
Are you keeping that?
I wish.
You wish?
Yeah, it's just going to go into my pocket,
Yeah,
as I leave.
take it home. There's a big bag here. There we go. Damien, the voice of Fashion Week. Now, you're doing the voiceovers?
I'm doing the voiceovers for the entire duration of Fashion Week. It's a pretty amazing honour, actually. I didn't think I'd be... Stop zooming in on me. I didn't think I'd actually be asked to do this, but no, it has...
Pretty tough thing. I mean, the whole week. I mean, everybody's tuning in and they're hearing your voice.
I know, it's a bit...
Now this is the face behind the voice.
It's a bit freaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. I'm just sort of like sat up in my little... I suppose it's like a little announcer's booth. I feel very Pete Smith this week.
Yeah, so now, of course, you got this. I mean, you're on radio, of course, Joy Melbourne, and you do a lot of spruiking as well around town.
Oh, do I what? I'm a tart, actually.
I know.
I do. I tart my services everywhere.
You prostitute that voice to a maximum.
Absolutely.
Now, how many shows have you seen this week?
I've seen 5 so far. We've got another one which is just about to happen. Of course, you'll see a little bit of that. We've got another 4, I think, to come later on this week too. So,
oh, what a great week for you! And what's the highlight so far out of the shows you've seen?
Busy. Probably the Victoria Trine Tafalu show, which was on earlier today. She was, I mean, some of the designs have just been stunning. They really have.
Something new and the latest for IJ journalist here. And how important is the Fashion Week to Melbourne?
Considering that it's still a very young industry and that most designers are still trying to develop a decent profile, if not an international profile, I think it is quite significant. The problem is, I think that too many retail outlets are given the opportunity to show and not enough young designers can afford to be involved in the parades where they should be. It'd be better if the Melbourne City Council got behind it a little bit more and started backing them. But look, you can criticise something as much as you want because you can always find faults. The point is at least it is some kind of an event that is showcasing talent, whether it be Melbourne-based or not, in an arena for not just fashion press and the fashion savvy to get a good shot of it, but it also invites the general public. And that's what it's all about.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The three major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help. Join a Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do. 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global, acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable.
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much more.
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say, "G'day, you got a friend."
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it. It's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard But the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
More members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV. Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash. Maybe even from heart disease. Maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident, or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed Video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Monday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You're welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us here at MELfeed Video, we wish you a very good night.